What's up? Came every day. I figured I'd keep the ball rolling by getting into a newer track that I did yesterday. Old school style, you know? Setting up the tripod. I've been thinking about videos to make, and I just haven't had the time recently because I've been so focused on taking care of my own business that I realized that part of my business should be making videos. And I haven't made a music video or a video about music in some time, so I figured I'd start another one. Classic Big C in the studio with the old school KRKs. I had to blur out my password. I went back to the KRKs from using Focals for a long time. I like the KRKs better. The Focals cost like literally 8 times more, and I hate them 8 times more. I think these KRKs are way better, and they cost $200 for like the pair. You can't beat that. I also have a couple playlists that I'd like to shout out before we get into this video. Sorry, not jumping right into it. I gotta set up everything. The tripod, the computer. One, you go to the Big Chocolate Spotify, and I've got my whole 2018 playlist of everything I listened to that whole year. Unless say Spotify removed it or something. But it's over 1,100 songs. The other one is a collaborative playlist for Disfiguring the Goddess. And this is one that you can add to yourself. And people are adding songs. I added a bunch of songs. The description is, let's come together and build this brutal wall of sound. So come on in and build the brutal wall of sound. Let's go. You already know what it is. Alright, jumping into it. This song is called Epicenter because it samples Lady of Epicenter by Disfiguring the Goddess. But it's originally called Guitar Start because I used a guitar. This one's a sick guitar. It's an Epiphone with a stock pickup in the bridge, in the neck, and then an invader in the bridge. And I used the bridge pickup for this. I've used that guitar in a lot of songs. Pretty much any guitar song of Big Chocolate. Don't try and test it. Hella Tight. What's that other one? Can't remember it right now. And a lot of the Disfiguring the Goddess albums, including the new Disfiguring the Goddess album. I have a 7-string or 8-string guitar, but I only used it in certain parts on the new Disfiguring. It was mainly the 6-string. So I started off with, I think I started off with this vocal from a sample pack. There's nothing really, there's like a little flanger on it. And then I played this. That's the kick pattern. It's a drum and bass song. Simple snare. And then I had a drum break. And then I went and added this stem from a Suicide Silence song, Disengage, for the live drums and the impacts. Fades out. Can't really see what's going on the screen, but I'm cutting the low end out. So all together the drums sound like this. And there's a bit of reverb on them, but I did that last. To send. I did that when I was done with the track. And then I played guitar. And I believe, let's see if I can play you my original recording. I can and I will, everybody. I'm using Ableton Live too. I used to use Logic, but now I use Ableton Live. I just got used to it and now I just can't go back. Here's the guitar I played. And then I put some effects on it and chopped it up a little bit. I didn't really move it around, I just kind of removed some, like, you'll see. Now for the effects, I used EzMix. Here's one. There's 3 layers. Here's one. Here's 2. Here's 3. Now how I did this was using the effects racks. So basically, if you add in any effect into Ableton and then group it, there's a little thing on the side. Like you're not gonna be able to see it, but the 3rd button down. Jesus Christ! There's like a. Can you see when you press that? It like says chain. You can continuously add in more things and then kind of mix them. There's a little, change the volume and stuff, and then mix them all, and then it's pretty much like the most useful thing in Ableton, I think. And I didn't know. Well, I knew about it, but I didn't really process it. Did I just fuck something up? I'm not gonna save this, so it doesn't matter. I did. Something happened. Yeah. Huh. There we go. And then I'm just cutting a little bit of the lows, but I'm not scooping them. And then a little bit of dip around 380, and then I'm boosting the highs to kind of make it a bit more presence. I probably should cut the lows out, low cut them, but I don't know why I didn't. This track was made yesterday, so there might be a couple little mixed things that I change. So all together, the first little bit. Oh, and the main part, the chopped up, not the main part, but the chopped up screams and stuff. These kind of come in throughout the song. Epicenter. You can kind of hear it. Our Lady. Epicenter, if you know Sleeper. Then I bring in a bass guitar, which I'm using Trilian, which is a sick bass VST multi-sampled. Then I've got some compression, EzMix amp, and then I'm high passing at around 100 hertz or whatever. Add in a new sample, kind of like old school sounding. There's some I thought there was reverb on, or delay on it. There's delay in the sample, and then I kind of increased, or I extend the disengage sample. You can totally hear that disengage. And I just reverse it. Add a new break in. Here's the first bass sound. This is a classic. This is a classic Big C song, I think. It has, guitar, drum and bass, vocals, and a Melodyne bass line. This is a resampled bass line. Cutting the lows, not really. Like this. There might be some mixing things I go through. I try not to drastically EQ my first time around, and kind of trim away as I feel necessary. Not be super drastic from the get-go, because you might be adding more sounds than you need, and you're really just overcompensating with EQ or compression or something. Then there's some distortion, trash. I'm putting a big dip in there too, around 1200 hertz, just kind of like, you know, it's like a classic. If you do it, it's like a classic, and I think I'm EQing it like that too, but not so much. It's like classic Reese kind of processing. You high pass, you put a dip in the mids, and then you kind of bump the highs. But I'm not bumping the highs because the distortion is there. Kind of increases the presence. Alright, then there's a little break. With the drums, Suicide Silence drums. Lady Epicenter vocals. I think the break comes in right here. There should be like a little synth build, like an operator. Drop one. That Windows alert sound is not in the song. Bass lines on this. They're from the Virus. Surprise. The Virus is amazing. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right here. I pretty much use it for all my synth sounds, but I just got Trilian again, so I might be using that again. I like Serum as well, but Serum is so, like, I want Serum to do this, where the Virus is so much slippery. Like, you can get way more out of your Virus, I think. You know what I think is a good alternative to a Virus? Is, Native Instruments' I think it's Reactor. Yeah. Native Instruments Reactor. Reactor's got some really great things in there. Yeah, it's just got a bunch of different types of synths and stuff that are awesome. I won't get into it now because I don't use it that much. I mean, I've used it in the past and I liked it. Like I used it the same way I used the Virus, where you sample from it. You don't just like leave it in there. You constantly rip out from it. And there's some variation in the break during the drop. Like I chop it up a bit, and then I kind of make it even more removed. Bring the bass back in. The only thing I might add to this track might be some subtle effects, like you know, a synth-based rise in the build. I think it might be kind of necessary, and then maybe some like little bits of white noise here and there, but really subtle. I like how simple the track is. You know, that's I think where a lot of my best work comes from, is simplicity. And this track was done in 2 short sessions. I just was flowing. When you're flowing, those I think your best moments come out of it, as long as your computer doesn't crash. Monster Reese, guitars, samples. Got a new sample in here too. It's like a vocal that kind of follows the break pattern. Bring the brakes in a bit more, and there's another build release. And this time I bring the bass in on more of the build. This is the only part where I would need to add a synth. And I'm not going to save this, but I'll show you what I will do. I'm going to bring an operator. I'm going to make a new clip. This song is in the key of A sharp. That's what I like about drum and bass too, is you can make songs in weird keys. So I find it much more easy to do rock music in drum and bass than in things like dubstep, where dubstep is like really only spans a couple keys. So Operator is an FM synth. You basically just add different things and you just get weird sounds. That's a saw wave and a sine wave. So that's what I'd probably do. I'd probably do it like this or like this. You could add in more too. Operator is sweet. I never used it before, but it's really easy. Like let's see about this. And then I would use the little pen tool, kind of create those little dips. Sweet build. Here's where we kind of got everything going on at once. We got the guitars, we got the bass lines. And then you could even add, like, on this thing, they have a built-in filter. You kind of like taper off the end a bit. I'll save this as a new copy and maybe pull in this little thing, but you know, might do it from scratch. I don't want to, but that's how I would do it. And then there's a little simple outro, and that's pretty much it. There's a drum submix with kick and a snare. Oh yeah, kick and the snare. I don't think I did anything crazy. The kick is a layer of this sample and this sample for the transient. Hear that? It's nice. And then the snare is this and this. And they're both in the key of F. And I have a little tape processing on those from the Studer. I wanted to add this in it too, but it's like the same tone as one of the other drums, so it didn't make any sense. So it actually made the sound worse. Yeah, that's essentially it. There's really little processing. I have a little bit of a effect on the drum bus for, let's see where it comes in. Just right here. Maybe I should. It's right before the drop, the first drop. So maybe I'll add that again. No, not like that. Silly goose. Ableton's so easy with automation. one of the reasons I like it. A little flare right before the drop. Not mad at that. So that's it. It's called Epicenter. I have no idea when it will be out. Probably. My guess would be fall, because I've got some treats for you guys this summer, which I'll probably be going through in the same fashion then when they're out, but I wanted to get something to look forward to. Yeah, there's a scream submix, there's a guitar bass submix, there's a vocal effects submix. I guess the screams could go in there. There's a sub, which I just use the hip hop sub preset bass in Ableton. I use it sometimes. I'll use all different kinds of things for the sub. And there's a glide action on the sub too. And it goes up and down. Hear it? Just like little things, you know? Doesn't need to be super fancy, but you need little things. The devil is in the details, you know? And then the bass line, there's nothing on any of my sub mixes besides that effects on the drums. And yeah, there's a bunch of reverbs. I have a reverb for, it's called a live room. It's for like the guitar and the drums. I think some vocals are in there too. Call you right back. This is the bass reverb. It's a plate. And this is like the vocal, I guess, reverb. It's a slap delay, but I'm using a reverb to do it. And then the last thing I have on my aux is distortion. I got some EQ-ness. I got a high pass, a dip, and then I'm cutting out a peak. Some kind of like resonant-y, annoying thing. And that's it. You know, I have a 7 dB on my limiter. I got a little bit of compression on the master bus. Really fast attack, fast release. A really high, a brick ratio. And I'm filtering it at 90 hertz, so everything, or side chaining it, so everything below 90 hertz doesn't affect the compressor. So it's basically just the drums, the top end of the drums, but all the subness doesn't get affected. Aggressive and tight preset, nothing's changed. Oversampling 8 times, dither 16-bit, and then I turn it down. Oh, I didn't turn it down at all. I'm not hitting it really hard, but sometimes when I hit it a little bit harder, I turn my output down a little bit. Just kind of catch the peaks. Yeah. That's Epicenter. Hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough. It took 20 minutes to show you the track. The track is great. I listened to it this morning, and I was like, this track is awesome. Classic Big C sounds. More to come on everything. Check out those Spotify playlists. Follow me on Spotify because I got a lot of music coming out soon. We are rocking and rolling. If you missed my last video, I kind of catch up in a broad way about everything that's been going on. One of the major things that's been going on is I have management again. And it's not just management again, it's my old management again. The people who... I was looking for a CD. Who brought you all the Disfiguring the Goddess CDs and all the Big Chocolate CDs, aside from Beauty of the Bird and Death Before Dubstep, which I did when I was at a time where I didn't care. And look at the results of those albums. I'm not saying people didn't care, but people didn't care, you know? Because I didn't care. If you care, people will care, and that'll translate through your music, if you, or whatever you're doing, your production, whether it's writing, music, photography, whatever. I think you have to like people and like yourself in order to get people to like it. And I don't think there's any medium ground on that, you know? I mean, I'm sure there's people who also hate people who relate to art or whatever being made by people who hate people, but that's not a majority of people. So maybe I'll do a video on that. Maybe I just did. I think I will. Sayonara, your boy, Cameron Argon, Big Chocolate, representing Markleyville.